you would agree that it's never acceptable to assault a police officer.
Sure.
But if I can, among those who pardoned DJ Rodriguez, he drove a stun gun into the neck of a DC police officer who was abducted by the mob that day. He later confessed on video to the FBI and pleaded guilty for his crimes. Why does he deserve a pardon?
Damn! Because the American public is tired of people like you that are just one-sided, horrible people.
Yeah, how dare you oppose my decision to pardon a man who used a stun gun on police by citing my own past sentiment on being the most, quote, pro-police president of our time.
The president has the pardon and commutation authority. It's his decision. There was a weaponization of the Justice Department. There was a weaponization of the events. The following, the prosecutions that happened after January 6th.
2 minutes later.
To us, it is disgusting. To us, it probably proves the point, the suspicion that, they call it the Biden crime family. If they weren't the crime family, why do they need pardons, right? Look, there's a lot of attention that's going to be paid to this. We will be looking at it as well. The president's made his decision. I don't second guess those.
That's right, folks. We are so back when President Donald Trump is dodging and whatabouting his way through a press conference as he tries to make excuses for pardoning a violent Capitol rioter. Now, as we know, Donald Trump granted clemency on Inauguration Day for around 1,500 convicted on the January 6, 2021 Capitol insurrection, but his inclusion of those who attacked police reportedly went beyond what his own party wanted. And during a press briefing, NBC News' Peter Alexander brought up one particular case to the returning president, setting the perfect trap for Trump to willfully fall into because, of course, he did. I mean, this is the guy who was barely awake when he was getting called out to his face at the prayer breakfast. But I won't hold my breath waiting for the 1,000 New York Times editorials on his mental acuity.
In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families. Some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation. But the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals.
But when asked whether he agreed that it is never acceptable to assault a police officer, Donald Trump said, sure, before being told how he's made it acceptable to assault a police officer.
That's the executive orders. You would agree that it's never acceptable to assault a police officer.
Sure.
So then if I can, among those who pardoned DJ Rodriguez, he drove a stun gun into the neck of a DC police officer who was abducted by the mob that day. He later confessed on video to the FBI and pleaded guilty for his crimes. Why does he deserve a pardon?
Well, I don't know. Was it a pardon? Because we're looking at commutes and we're looking at pardons. Okay, well, we'll take a look at everything. But I can say this. Murderers today are not even charged. You have murderers that aren't charged all over. You take a look at what's gone on in Philadelphia. Take a look at what's gone on in L.A., where people murder people and they don't get charged. These people have already served years in prison, and they've served them viciously. It's a disgusting prison. It's been horrible. It's inhumane. It's been a terrible, terrible thing. Because the American public is tired of people like you that are just one-sided, horrible people.
And as we know with Trump, when cornered on his own hypocrisy, it's over to false claims about murderers never being charged in blue cities. But in the word salad, there were actually few details about his decision to pardon this man. And the thing is, it wasn't just Trump whose feet were held to the fire. Republican Tim Burchett was called out by Jim Acosta over his, quote, back to blue allegiance and whether he took any issue with the sweeping pardons that contradict that statement.
Do you agree with President Trump's decision to pardon these violent people and releasing them from jail?
If they were truly violent, no. But do I know that they were? I don't know that.
What do you mean you don't know that? We're showing the footage on the air right now. Congressman, you were there that day. There are offenders on January 6th who violently beat police officers. There are offenders who are convicted of seditious conspiracy. That is the truth.
This is a political world, Jim, and I don't remember you all on CNN condemning Joe Biden for commuting the sentences of murderers and child molesters, which he did. And you all
Congressman, I'm not asking about that. Congressman, we talked about Joe Biden's pardons.
You never do, Jim.
Congressman, we did talk about it. We talked about Joe Biden's pardons.
Oh, Jim, you did not. You all read your report from the Democrat National Committee, as you always do,
that
and
is
you attack
absolutely
Americans.
false. Congressman, are you going to respond and say whether or not it is right to let these people out of jail?
I don't know if it is or not. I'm not a lawyer, but I'll tell you what isn't right.
You're a congressman. You're a member of Congress. You're an elected official. Take a stand.
They were not given due process. I told you if they crossed the line, they were trespassers. Should they rot in jail for the rest of their lives in a federal penitentiary
not trespassing,
and never be charged?
beating police officer, tasing police officers,
Jim,
seditious conspiracy.
What you're forgetting to say is the ones that he didn't release. Why did he not release those? There are several that he did. This blanket thing you're all talking about is not a blanket. It's not a blanket pardon. There were several that he didn't for those very same reasons. Why are you not focusing on them?
Congressman, we're talking about the leader of the Oath Keepers, the leader of the Proud Boys. They should be released from prison.
What about the leader of the FBI? What about the FBI agents that were on the grounds, that were in that mess?
Congressman, the leader of the FBI was not rioting at the Capitol that day and beating up police officers. Whatever happened to back the blue? I want to show to back the blue. What happened to backing police officers? Your party has said time and again, we back the blue. It sounds like you let down the blue. You're betraying the blue.
Jim, why don't you just give an editorial and not let me come on? Look, what happened in the last 4 years with police? What happened with all the riots that took place all across the country? Police officers were murdered. Courthouses were burned. Over 22 police cars were burned. Yet no one went to jail for that. Where's your crocodile tears for that?
Congressman,
you're engaging in a game.
You're engaging in a game of whataboutism. People were obviously prosecuted after those riots.
Every day, all you've done is
what we're doing at CNN. We didn't storm the Capitol. These people did, and President Trump let them out of jail. Why not just say, you were wrong, Mr. President? Say it. Why can't you say it?
Jim, as I said, individually, I don't know the case, but
meanwhile, there were several examples on the House floor in which Democrats used their time to also call out the hypocrisy.
But let me tell you about the people that you can't seem to want to, that you continue to want to defend, and who have been pardoned. Here are some of the convicted felons that Trump set free on Monday. Stephen Cappuccio, convicted of 6 felonies, including assaulting a police officer, ripped off Metro police officer Daniel Hodges' gas mask, and at one point during the assault, he said, and I quote, "How do you like me now, mother effer?" Pardoned by Donald Trump. David Dempsey, sentenced to 20 years. He stomped on police officers' heads, struck an officer in the head with a metal crutch, and attacked police with pepper spray and broken pieces of furniture. He also attacked a fellow rioter who was trying to disarm him, and he has a demonstrated history of political violence. Pardoned by Donald Trump. Enrique Tarrio, sentenced to 22 years. Former national leader of the Proud Boys, a domestic terrorist far-right militia. He was found guilty of seditious conspiracy, helped plan the January 6th attack, and made sure it was violent. Pardoned by Donald Trump. Guy Reffitt, sentenced to 7 years and 3 months. He brought a gun, zip ties, body armor, and a helmet to the Capitol, presumably to try to take hostages in an attempt to keep Trump in office after he lost. Pardoned by Donald Trump. Daniel Joseph D.J. Rodriguez, sentenced to over 12 years. He repeatedly tased Officer Mike Fanone, shocking him in the neck multiple times and causing him to lose consciousness and have a heart attack. He was pardoned by Donald Trump. Patrick McCaughey III, sentenced to 90 months. He assaulted police, beat their faces and bodies with riot shields and batons that he stole for them. Pardoned by Donald Trump. Peter Francis Stager, sentenced to 4 years and 4 months. He pled guilty to assaulting an officer with a deadly weapon. On video declaring every single one of those Capitol law enforcement officers, death is the remedy. Those are his words. That is the only remedy they get. Pardoned by Donald Trump. Julian Cater, sentenced to 6 years, attacked Officer Brian Sicknick with pepper spray. Officer Sicknick died the next day after suffering 2 strokes. This is who the president pardoned. This is why my Republican friends are silent, because this is indefensible.
I want the American people to know with eyes wide open what is inside this bill. Because we stand here just 2 days after President Trump gave unconditional pardons to violent criminals who attacked our nation's capital on January 6th. And these are the people who want you to believe, who want us to believe that they're trying to quote unquote keep criminals off the streets. When they are opening the floodgates.
And the thing is, team, we knew this. We knew at the moment that they excused January 6th to the point in which they re-elected the guy that helped incite it, when they were calling it a tourist visit, a peaceful protest. I mean, Trump even called it a beautiful day. But what we should do, instead of beating that dead horse, is highlight the obvious, that this is indicative of a Trump presidency. People who allegedly voted for lower egg prices are instead going to get Gulf of Mexico being renamed to the Gulf of America, pardons that they in fact opposed across the board.
In a word, they think it's a terrible idea. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Pardoning for the January 6th protesters. Oppose it. 64%. About 2/3 of Americans oppose it. Just 30% favor it. And more than that, this Ipsos poll asked, should he prioritize it to be like the first thing he does when he gets in office? Just 1% say it should be Trump's top priority. So in a word, it's a terrible, terrible idea, I guess.
And higher prescription drug prices. So swell.
But when the judge says, this is what the people voted for, some of it they absolutely did not. And Donald Trump promised that he would bring your costs down right away. And he revoked Biden's policy to lower prescription drug prices, or to make it so Medicare can't negotiate itself for prescription drug prices. That's not cool.
Where is that? Where was that?
It's, look in the list.
Well, show me.
Well, what do you mean?
There's a lot more to that issue, but yeah.
Okay.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the Midas Touch newsletter at MidasTouch.com/newsletter.